ships, but we are all in the same boat. Martin Luther King said this in one of his more famous speeches, giving when he was a civil rights activist in America, fighting for racial equality and to end segregation in America. We've all heard of MLK, but some of us might only know him as the guy we get a day of school off once a year for, or his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. But MLK did so many important and selfless things in his life, it's hard to start in one specific spot. Born January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, he was the son of a minister of a very small local African-American church in Atlanta. He later actually took over this church and grew it to one of the more prominent African-American churches in the Atlanta area. He attended public schools, and during this time he faced a lot of segregation and racial inequality, along with many other African-American children attending public schools. After high school, he attended college and gained a degree in sociology. While in college, he also met his wife, Coretta Smith, and they both moved to Montgomery, Alabama together. And when they moved there, he started his own church, where he was the pastor at it. He later, after starting the church, got his PhD, and he did all this before the age of 26. In 1957, Martin Luther King, along with 60 other ministers in the Atlanta area, started the Christian Leadership Conference, where their main goal was to legitimize and show the equality of black churches, that they are right alongside with all the other churches, and that they all have the same goal, which is their religion. He directed and took part in many peaceful protests for racial equality throughout the 60s. Some of the most more known ones was the bus boycott, which was where the African-American citizens had to sit at the back of the bus and everyone else got to sit at the front. And African-Americans at the time were bringing in most of the revenue for the city buses, so when they all decided to boycott, it really hurt the city. So it hurt the city so much that they had to do away with it. Also, the sit-down movement was a big one from MLK, which was mainly college kids going to segregated diners and restaurants, sitting down for hours until basically escorted by the police. A lot of times they were spit on and thrown food at while they were sitting down at the diners, but they wouldn't move as a peaceful protest. And then he just took part in many speeches and marches across America. One of his protests in Birmingham, Alabama was so very large that the police had to interfere so much where they arrested over 100 people, including Martin Luther King. So he spent a few months in jail for that protest alone. On August 28, 1963, he had his famous "I Have a Dream" speech at the Lincoln Memorial. There was a crowd of 200,000 people, and he emphasized that he has the dream that all men could live together in harmony one day. MLK continued to do speeches and protests across the country throughout the 60s. And this resulted in the passage of the Civil Rights Act in 1964, which is huge for the black community. And this can mostly be credited to MLK along with other colleagues that he worked with. And then sadly, in 1968, Martin Luther King was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee by James Earl Ray. And he died in Memphis. So Martin Luther King was a religious and scholarly man, and he fought for what he believed in. He will go down in history as a hero, and his legacy will definitely live on forever. He was also awarded the Nobel Peace Prize soon after the Civil Rights Act was passed. And if one thing you can take away from Martin Luther King's life is, no matter your background, just be glad that we all can live together in a country with equality. And some people might disagree with that, but it's definitely better. We definitely live in a better world because that he was in it. And just be glad for that. So thanks for listening. I hope you learned something about the life and legacy of Martin Luther King.
Thank you.
Very good, Mack. A lot of good